Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The Pips, the Players, the Hustlers, the people, the Bustler, and everybody else in between. The Wicked Wednesday has begun. Let's do this thing. We've got a busy night tonight on the hardwood, specifically on the ice this evening. Let's get started in the desert in Arizona's Austin Matthews has 49 goals on the season. He scored 49 goals in 53 games. He looks to become the fastest to 50 goals in a season since Mario Lemieux in 1995-96, who scored 50 goals in 50 games. The record among active skaters is 61 games by Connor McDavid. Just to give a little bit of context about how special of a season that Austin Matthews is having. Normally, we wouldn't open up with a Toronto Maple Leaf and an Arizona Coyote game in the desert, but Austin Matthews worthy of being the opener tonight. And we should note, Austin Matthews is from Arizona as well. So storybook, textbook, storybook, story, Sports 101 tonight. You've got to take it. Listen, we should be betting on Austin Matthews to score all the time, but it's minus 155 right now, as high as minus 155, as considering as many times as he scored. Yet, going back home tonight, you know he's going to light the lamp this evening. So we got a piece of it. I didn't play the same game parlay, though, just in case he doesn't score and the Leafs win. We did parlay. We parlayed the Toronto Maple Leafs with UNLV. This is a can't-lose parlay. I say that with heavy sarcasm. Yeah, no way that loses. The Toronto Maple Leafs and UNLV on the money line. All right? UNLV are playing Air Force, and Air Force are terrible. All right? Air Force are one of the worst teams in college basketball against the number this year. They're 7-17 against the spread. All right? They don't cover numbers. And in fact, actually, Pacific are in action tonight. The problem with Pacific is, number one, Pacific blow. All right? They're terrible. Pacific have played 26 games this year. They've covered 6 times only. All right? Shout out to everybody joining us on SiriusXM, channel 159. So Pacific the thing is, they're playing Pepperdine tonight, and Pepperdine aren't very good either. But, a couple of trends to note as far as the late-night games are concerned. We have some of the worst teams in college basketball in action tonight. Pacific are the worst team against the spread in the entire country. 6-20 ATS. That's a 23.1% clip. Meanwhile, Air Force are 7-17. They've only covered 29.2% of the time. So in other words, if you've bet against Air Force every game, you've won 71% of the time this year. People often focus on the teams that are best against the spread. I think we got to take a look at the teams that are like terrible against the spread. New Mexico and Colorado State, big-time game in the Mountain West. There's not enough spots for everybody in the dance. The Mountain West is a super competitive conference this year. New Mexico started off the season straight fire. They've started to lose some games. They're still like 20-6 on the season, but they need to win. And same with Colorado State. Remember, Colorado State were like ranked in the top 15 earlier in the season. I think the point spread's too high, personally. Look, we saw it last night, and that was with St. Mary's against the San Francisco team that really, not quite as good as sort of like this matchup. I don't think New Mexico are that much better. I don't think New Mexico are really better than Colorado State. So if you want to bury that much, you want to put that much into the home court advantage at the pit, all right. But it seems to me that's a little bit high. All right, you're getting 8 points right now with Colorado State. UNLV laying 6.5. I don't want to do that, even though Air Force are money burners. The Fly Boys are burning money. I don't want to do that. But as I stated, I'm going to parlay UNLV, moneyline parlay with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got a really cool hockey game coming up tonight. The Boston Bruins and the Edmonton Oilers. This game is in Edmonton, Alberta. The Oilers right now are minus 140 favorites in this game. The total is 6.5. They haven't dropped the puck yet. We're getting ready to drop the puck in a couple of minutes. The pregame show going on right now. You notice with Boston have been giving up a lot more scoring chances lately, and they've been giving up more goals. They're still the Boston Bruins. They're still a dangerous team Nobody's gotten rich betting against the Boston Bruins over the last 10, 15 years. I'll tell you that, all right? Unless they're playing the Canadians in the playoffs. That's another story. But it feels like this is, listen, someone's got to win a game. They're two really good teams. Someone's got to win. I think Edmonton will be the ones to win. Like I said, Boston haven't been playing great, but they've sort of been getting by in overtime. I know they lost to the Kings. They beat the Stars. A lot of close games, so this game's going to be close. But we took the Edmonton Oilers. So we've got the Oilers at minus 140. We took Austin Matthews to score a goal. I didn't do the same game parlay just in case. Like a good example is, and do we have a final yet in this one? No, yeah, we do. It just went final, actually. It's just coming to an end right now. Inter Miami win the first MLS game of the season. That's the good news. The good news is we were on Inter Miami, and it closed at minus 175. So we cashed the ticket with Inter. Bad news is me and about, 3.7 million other people were suckers for taking Messi to score a goal. And I wasn't going to do it. I knew. I was like, you know what? It's the second year now in the league. They're a deeper team. They are deep. Like, they've got a lot of players on this team in Miami. It's not just about Messi. And Messi's not like some sort of dude that needs to, like, feed his ego and needs to score a hat trick. Like, you know what I mean? Like Ronaldo is, right? Ronaldo got upset. I'm taking a penalty kick, right? Messi's more of a teammate. I thought that Suarez would score tonight. I thought Suarez, the Uruguayan striker, Suarez is on the team. Luis Suarez, a great player. He's only 37. He's not over the hill yet. He made his Inter Miami debut tonight. They're just loaded. I guess there's no salary cap in the MLS anymore, and Miami are basically the only ones that are doing anything about it. But, like, Miami are, like, freaking stacked right now, for real. So they win the game 2-0. I also lose to both teams to score, so we ended up losing on the game because I had both teams to score, and I had a couple of goal scorer props. I didn't go massive on the goals, but nevertheless, we'll take the win with Inter Miami. Game stays under the number, which is interesting because it was like minus 211 to the over 2.5 this game. I'm looking right now. Did I get paid for Miami yet? Where's my Miami money's at, baby? Inter Miami. Yeah, we did. I'm hitting refresh. I'm like, come on, man. Let's go. We've got games to bet on, and we've got action to roll it over on. Let's roll. So we're jumping in, baby. We're taking Colorado State plus the points against New Mexico. They've just started the game. I didn't play the total. It's 157.5 right now. But we did take the Rams, Ram Tough, plus 8 against the New Mexico Lobos. Austin Matthews to score a goal. Toronto Maple Leafs, UNLV, moneyline parlay. Let's rock. We're going to get everybody's picks. We got a full house on the program. NBA is coming back tomorrow. Paul Povey's in the house. Cam Stewart, Brady Cannon, George Kurtz, Ian Cameron, a.k.a. Babano. This is the Wicked Wednesday. This is Sports Rage.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
What do we do with the Nets, though? Because this team is hot garbage. I mean, poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
I mean, the reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. Smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I don't know if I hate college basketball now or I just hate losing when I watch college basketball because I don't get quite the same type of rage when I'm watching a college basketball game and I have money on the over and I'm just watching bricks. I'm like, God, this is bad. And then I realized, like, no, your pick was bad. You knew it was bad going in, right? You knew it was bad going in. But speaking of bad picks, I'm on Indiana right now. And Indiana, these guys are getting absolutely murdered tonight by Nebraska. The game is in Indiana as well. I'm holding out hope. I see right now, like I said, they were down by like 23, 24 earlier. They've cut the lead to 10. There's 8.5 left, so there's still a lot of basketball left. 66-56 right now for Nebraska. They're 7.5-point favorites. New Mexico have a 6-2 lead early, 2.5 minutes in on Colorado State. They're laying 9.5. Right now. Total is 157.5 in-game, exactly what it was at tip-off. I'm on the Colorado State Rams plus the 8 points in this game. And NHL hockey, the Bruins and the Oilers, the pregame show is coming to a close right now. They're getting ready to start this game in a couple of moments. The Blue Jackets have scored early on the Ducks, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have already scored on the Arizona Coyotes, and I'm flicking around right now. I don't know why I'm blacked out of a Toronto Maple Leaf Arizona game, but I'm not blacked out of the Bruins and Edmonton. But the question is, was it Austin Matthews that just scored?
No,
I guess
McCann.
no. Who was it?
McCann, not Matthews. Wrong M. McCann? No, we needed Matthews. But don't worry, Gabe. He'll get his. I'm on the same bet, I think. That line got bet up from 125 this morning all the way to 160 before game time. Austin Matthews to get his 50th goal. But I'm on it, too.
I've noticed, though, basically, the books that people bet a lot of hockey on, Austin Matthews was like minus 150 and stuff. And the books that don't care that much about hockey, he was like minus 130, 125. Let's bring in Brady Cannon. Right now. Brady, always good to see you. A lot of stuff going on. Any action for you tonight, Brady? Any little sprinkle on any college basketball games or anything like that?
Well, of course. We got to have a little something going on a Wicked Wednesday. Good to be with you, Gabe and Cam, once again. I'm with you on the Rams from Colorado State. I actually got 8.5. I must have been just good timing or something like that because I saw it at 7.5. I didn't even see 8. Just happened to get 8.5 when I logged on to bet that one. I am on the other side of Indiana and Nebraska ball. I have Nebraska ball on the money line. So I was getting worried there. They were up by 20 at the half, and Indiana cut it to 3. And now they're back out to a 10-point lead.
Oh,
so.
I didn't know it was all the way down to 3. I'm on Indiana. I didn't know that. Thanks. I would have been more upset if I was tailing. If I was watching that. I don't want to bring it up, but I would have been madder. I'd be like, oh, they cut it to 3. I didn't realize they cut it to 3.
Not Matthews, Gabe. Robertson.
Yeah, the Huskers woke up. I mean, they were stuck on 57 points for like a half an hour, I think. But now they have apparently awakened and back to a 10-point lead on the Hoosiers.
So I brought this up earlier, guys. Pacific are the worst team. Oftentimes people will talk, and we do this in pro sports often too. People will talk, Brady, about who the best team against the spread is. Oh, this team is 9-1 against the spread. People don't often talk about, this team is 1-8 against the spread, right? Like you got to look at the bottom also. And Pacific is a good example. Pacific have played 26 games, man. They've covered 6 games, Brady. Out of 26, that's 23%. Like, it's not a bad clip, bro. If you're betting against them, you're winning at a 77% clip, right? Like, everybody's talking about Minnesota, and rightfully so. Minnesota are 22-3 against the spread. Okay, fine. Pacific are 6-20 against the spread. Every bit as good of a bet. And my deal was, man, but they're playing Pepperdine tonight, and Pepperdine are not a good. Pepperdine are like 11-17 on the season. But here we go. Pepperdine are up 14-5 early already. In this game. So NHL hockey, the Toronto Maple Leafs have jumped all over the Coyotes early. And the Bruins and the Oilers are getting ready to drop the puck. I'm seeing 1-0 here still, Cam, though, in the Maple Leaf game.
What happened? Reversed the goal. They reversed the goal. But it looked good to me.
You've got to wait until you announce. Yeah, you've got to wait. That's sort of...
Okay. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Anyway, look at the goal.
It wasn't. So no, 1-0. What's your pick in the Oilers and the Bruins game?
I'm taking the Oilers tonight. I know it seems like a really short price, and you get worried when you're betting like Boston. They're good. We talked about it, but I stand by my words with McInnes last night, Gabe. I think their goaltenders have kept them in a lot of games. Edmonton at home, a lethal team. They're deep. This is a big game when Boston rolls into town. I'll lay 30 cents with the with the Oilers. I think they get it done tonight. I lean over 6.5 in this hockey game as well. To see lots of fireworks, lots of goals.
All right, let's get into the Gulf Mexico Open in Vallarta. And speaking of which, Paul Bovey's going to be joining us from Mexico a little bit later on. In the backyard. I don't think he's going to the tournament, though, Brady. I'll ask him. We'll see just to get what kind of sarcastic response I get back from him.
Yeah, it can't be too far. I know he lives down the street, I think in like the same complex or something as another friend of mine, a great professional bettor, really, Frank B. Frank B. You know Frank B?
No.
Frank B.
I don't think so.
Look him up on Twitter at TiesWin. He is great friends and betting partners with another guy that's a legend here in Las Vegas, Anthony Curtis. But those guys are as sharp as it gets. And I know Paul Bovey lives just down the street.
I guess so.
Yeah,
that's why they have beach houses in Mexico.
Right. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me, Morency. But Austin Matthews has scored his 50th goal, and they're not going to take this one back. And if it didn't happen, then you can cut my mic and I'll say sayonara, friends.
You gotta love the NHL, like this league. You have a player that just became the fastest to score 50 goals since Mario Lemieux, and you effing are blacking this stuff out. Like you don't even see it.
Are you sure this isn't baseball?
Seriously, this is like blacking out Mark McGuire 50. Like, dude, what are they doing? Like, honestly,
Gabe, there's nothing worse in Las Vegas. Like every West Coast team is blacked out. The Rockies, the Dodgers, the Giants, the A's, the Diamondbacks. I mean, the Padres. What am I going to go to all these games on a Wednesday night in July? I mean, how is that for promoting your product?
None of it makes sense. Like in Nevada, none of it makes sense. Like even LA, it's like, LA is 4 hours away, jackasses. Like it's another state. Yeah. Like, well, how are you? Like,
it's 12 hours away for me to go to a Rockies game, and the Rockies are black. I mean, it's 8 hours to San Francisco.
why are you like blacking out Oakland Athletic games in Las Vegas? Like, you
Yeah,
said,
maybe
we're
all the
supposed
help
to
they
take like
can
a
get.
16-hour drive like, to the
it's
game.
like, it's come on.
That's why Vegas too. Like, and you're there actually. We're coming up. We got a minute to break. We'll hit the golf on the other side. But let me ask you, Brady, do you think that the Athletic baseball team is going to end up in Las Vegas when it's all said and done? Because it's starting to look like this is nowhere near close to being a done deal, bro. What do you hear? What do you think?
They have tried to muck it up as best as they can, and they continue to seemingly do so. But I do believe that they will eventually get here. There was an announcement by I believe the Bally's Corporation about the Tropicana Hotel. I guess they own it, and they're planning on imploding that hotel right around the 1st of April, with plans, of course, for the A's to take over that lot of land. And I guess the A's have also submitted 3 stadium renderings to the powers that be. And so, it appears that ball is rolling, or those 2 balls are rolling. But again, your guess is as good as mine. I think it's probably, I'd say 65-35 right now that they end up in Vegas.
My prediction is that Bally's gets impatient in about a year from now, and they say, you know what? This isn't going to happen, or not happening at our speed, and we can't have this empty lot sitting here forever. We're building a casino. Right? I'm already fascinated. What's your plan B for this lot anyways?
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric SportsRage.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
SportsRage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
What do we do with the Nets, though? Because this team is hot garbage. Poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
The reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. Smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage Late
This sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. Quick check of the scoreboard right now. Marquette 80, DePaul 43. I was actually tempted to take DePaul plus 36.5 earlier tonight. I'm glad I didn't. It's true. They were losing like 40-16 or something. I was like, damn, man, 36.5. I'm like, that's a lot of points. Then I took a step back and I was like, let's wait it out and see if it gets worse. And I forgot about it. I'm looking now. See, now they're down by 39 now. 46-42 Kentucky over LSU. Mississippi and Mississippi State. I thought this number was a little high, actually. The game is close. It's 52-51. The game that we all bet on here. Cam, who do you have here? Do you, me and Brady are on the Rams. You on the Lobos or the Rams?
I actually have UNLV, and in that game, I took the Lobos, but I already have buyer's remorse. They are off to a great start, but it looked like a lot of points in that unranked team. Yeah, it's very close right now. I don't
understand them laying 10.5 right now, to be honest. It's 18-15.
The Mountain West is good, guys. I mean, that conference is about 7 teams deep. Yeah, San Diego State, Boise State. Nevada's not too bad. Obviously, New Mexico, Colorado State. They're a good conference.
San Diego, it's very good.
Yeah, that Mountain West Conference tournament in Vegas is going to be awesome. This year. That's really going to be cool. Okay, let's get to the golf. So what are you looking at this week, Brady, as we go to Mexico?
Well, I did one better than a 6-pack this week, 2 beers apiece, and I got one for Tommy, the producer, too. I got 7 for us this week. Nikolai Højgaard, I'm starting close to the top of the board. I think you could argue that this guy's the best player in the field. Got him at plus 1650. And a couple of the correlated courses I used were Torrey Pines and Corrales Golf Club, where they play the Corrales Punta Cana. Nikolai Højgaard has finished runner-up at both of those tracks. So I think we've seen the favorite win here 2 years in a row in Jon Rahm and Tony Finau. I think Højgaard could make it 3 in a row. And then I went a little further down to Stefan Jager at 25-1. He's finished 15th and 18th here in the past. Also, Torrey Pines just recently, he was in the lead there on Sunday for a minute, eventually settled for 3rd place. But, I think you know this, Cam, going through that experience, that grind of trying to win, that just builds scar tissue. So if he's in contention again, he could be ready to close the deal. Then Mark Hubbard at 60-1, finished 18th here before, finished 20th at Torrey. The week after that, he finished 4th at Pebble Beach. Number 1 in this field for strokes gained approach the last 24 rounds. And then I went a little further to Michael Kim at 65-1. Not a big bomber, which is really the formula here, but he does everything else well. Good putter, 12th in this field on approach, and 2nd, the last 24 rounds, number 2 for birdies or better gained. Also, last year, this guy shot 4 rounds in the 60s and finished 7th at the Wells Fargo. Quail Hollow, another correlated course for me. And finishing 7th, that was against a signature class field, too. So pretty impressive there by Kim. And then Alejandro Tosti, the Argentinian, a Florida Gator. I think he's probably kind of familiar with this humid, tropical-like climate, the breezes. He can bomb it. One of the biggest hitters in the entire field. And he's got a really good short game, finished 10th here last year. And then I went with Austin Eckroat at 70-1. The guy is just kind of decent as far as the correlated courses and the stats. He did really have his coming out party last summer when he finished 10th at the U.S. Open. This field here this week, guys, is littered with up-and-coming talent. And I think Austin Eckroat is possibly at the top of that list. I think this guy is going to be around for a while and is probably going to win an event here pretty soon. It might be this week. And then finally, my longest bomb, 100-1 on Chesson Hadley. Pretty savvy veteran. And another couple of correlated courses, the Sanderson Farms, Jackson, Mississippi, and Congaree. He's finished runner-up at both of those. He's been going along pretty well. And, it seems like you'll see him towards the top of the leaderboard for a couple days, and then he falls off. If he can just put 4 days together against a watered-down field here, he might be able to sneak into a top 20 or better as well. I played all these guys outright and for a top 20.
What do you think of the plays, Cam, of Brady's picks?
I like them a lot, and I almost went with Højgaard, Gabe, and I have him in matchup bets. Brady, I had the same. I saw the email to Tommy with your matchup bet with Højgaard. I'm on the same one. I think this guy's actually, him and his brother are probably the most underrated players in the world, in my opinion. I watch European Tour golf, Gabe. They're on the page 1 of the leaderboard every week, and no one even knows about these guys unless you follow every tournament. They played on the Ryder Cup team. Like, this guy is a really, really good golfer. And the thing is, at this course, he has great, as Brady said, great track record and history here. This is a very interesting tournament, Gabe, and I don't understand these guys, like taking weeks off and stuff. And Finau won it last year, came second before with Rahm. It's like, really? So you guys don't want to go and play, like, you want Tony Finau to be the guy there? Fine. You know, no Justin Thomas, no other guys. I don't understand it personally, Brady. If I was a guy, I'd want to play every week, make my money, and especially when a lot of the big boys aren't there. But this gives us a lot of European guys. Thomas Dietrich, Højgaard, Ryan Fox, all these guys that we watch on a regular basis who could do very well on this type of course, Gabe. I love Brady's picks. I also have Hubbard, Brady, and I looked at a lot of your picks as well. Chasen Hadley, gotta love this guy. Gabe, sponsored by Bojangles Chicken and Biscuits, one of my favorite fast food joints down in Atlanta. And 100 to 1 is a nice price. Love Bojangles. Great chicken sandwich.
Yeah, you mentioned Brady, no, go ahead, Gabe. Go ahead.
I've got a couple of guys that caught my eye too from when I was looking at it as well. Just from the history, the field, that the lack of star power in the field, and the type of game that the players have. And Højgaard caught my eye. Jagger caught my eye. Jagerbomb was right there. And another one, the third guy, is Emiliano Grillo.
Yep.
Like, this guy's he's got the game for this course as well. He can crush the ball. His iron play is good, right? Everything sort of lines up for him. He's 30 to 1. Those were actually the three guys that I was looking at.
And what's the correlation, Gabe? All European.
Yeah,
Argentinian.
And Argentina.
German, Jagger. See, all these guys, like, I look at Brady, there's a couple Americans that you like, and Pendrith, the Canadian, he bombs the ball. A lot of people like him this week, but that's the thing. People don't understand. What is this course's defense? Wind. What do Europeans do? They play a lot of these type of courses in wind, low ball flight games.
And Finau's putter is just cold right now, too, guys. You can't play this at plus 850.
Hey, Finau can win. I saw him 650 on some bucks. If he beats us at that price, he beats us. I'd rather have Højgaard at 14-15 like Brady. Agreed.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. You know, Gabe, I thought you were going to throw out a name that you threw out last week. And, you know, I almost landed on this guy this week. 2 years in a row, he's finished 10th at this course, and that's a big bomber in Patrick Rogers. You kind of liked him at Riviera last week.
Yeah,
and
to be top 30,
he's definitely suited for this course. It's shown up the last 2 years with him finishing 10th. But, you know, you talk about the head-to-head matchups there, Cam. Højgaard plus 135 against Finau. I just thought that was really juicy. I mean, you know, I think Finau should be maybe minus 125 at the most over Højgaard. You give him a little edge, but certainly not minus 155. And then I took a couple other guys head-to-head that I also played outright. I took Alejandro Tosti at plus 106 over Vincent Norman. Now, Norman fits obviously the European role, but I think Tosti is better for this environment, you know, in the humidity, in the tropical, you know, situation. And that's not necessarily what Norman's used to, playing over in Europe. And then Austin Eckroat, I'm back on the young kid, even money over Maverick McNeely. McNeely has been a pick fancied by many this week. He's a shorter knocker, and you know, this is really more of a bomber's paradise. Not that the shorter guys can't do well, but McNeely, you know, he just hasn't been the same since the injury, and I think Eckroat's going to have a good week.
Agreed.
Let me ask you about this odds boost that I see here, Brady. Tony, so all three golfers to finish in the top 20. Tony Finau, Højgaard, and Keith Mitchell. What are your thoughts on Keith Mitchell? And so it pays plus 775. Most of the time, these odds boosts are kind of whatever. I mean, they're giving you a parlay to play essentially, and people.
It's a red flag, like, oh, hey, buy this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to fall for that.
About Tony Finau. You're just talking about Tony Finau. We know his track record here. He's won here before. He's showing up. He's not showing up not to play well. So you're top 20 for him. Højgaard, we all believe he's going to be top 20. We think he can win the damn tournament. It seems to me that Keith Mitchell is the wild card of this. What's your take on this parlay here, Brady?
I totally agree, Gabe, that Mitchell is the wild card. And he was a guy I took a hard look at this week. He's a great driver of the golf ball, but he hasn't been in super form this season. He was really good this time of year last year. One thing that scares me about Mitchell is I've seen a lot of love for him this week. I just did an article for the PGA Tour earlier today talking with a lot of bookmakers. He is one of their biggest liabilities. Ticket count, that type of thing. When, the whole world is on one guy, that's when I like to go the other way. So I'm with you. Finau, top 20, yeah, absolutely. He should be there. Højgaard, absolutely. Mitchell, I don't know. I think it's feast or famine for Keith Mitchell this week.
Cam, what do you think of the top 20 for all three of them?
I think it's a great bet, Gabe. And actually, like Brady, I actually like Keith Mitchell. He's part of my six-pack this week. I wish I had 7 beers, Brady, but I drank 1 6. I like Mitchell. The problem with, you said it, though, Kashmir Keith, he's just a little bit, like, he bombs it. He hits it well. But, I'd like to see that putter get a little bit hotter. His form is not perfect, but I think this week he can get it right at 28-1. So I love it, Gabe. I think it's actually a really good price. I like all guys in the top.
Well, he is one of the classier. He's one of the classier players in the field for sure.
Mm-hmm. Here's another one. This one's like plus 1687, so close to 17-1. This is top 20. Tony Finau top 20, Brandon Wu top 20, Cameron Champ top 20. Is that worth a look, Brady? At nearly plus 1700.
I like the first one better. I like the first one better. Yeah,
me too.
Wu finished third here last year, but I don't know. And Champ finished top 10 here 2 years in a row.
Out of it. I'll just take Finau and Højgaard
there
in the parlay, top 20. There we go.
All right.
Exactly.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
SportsRage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
What do we do with the Nets, though? Because this team is hot garbage. Poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
The reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. Smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage Late
This sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Colorado State have taken a lead on New Mexico, 25-22 for the Rams right now. They're getting 8 points in this game. The total right now is 148.5. So it opened at 147.5. 148.5 right now. We're at 47 points. There's 5 minutes left in the first half. 47 no, let's let it drop some more. I'm not ready to click. I'm not ready to click the bait here as the over. Oh, it was 157.5. Now it's 148. No, it's still there's not a lot of fouls either here. Colorado State have only committed 3 fouls. New Mexico 4. So we're still a couple of fouls away from the bonus. But we've got a close game going on. We had a close one last night that came down to free throws late. St. Mary's nearly covered the point spread. They had 4 free. They were up by 6 late, like in the last 30 seconds. It was into the San Francisco knew they were going to lose the game. And they were weird. Anyone that watched the end of that game last night, San Francisco was weird. Like they didn't foul for like 15, 18 seconds. And even the analyst was getting mad. He's like, you got to foul now. I think he had money on the game too. So he's getting mad. He goes, what's the point? What are you doing? And they let all this time go. And then they fouled. And then they hit a basket. And then they called timeout. And it was like, dude, you just quit on the game like a minute ago. It angered St. Mary's even. They were like, guys, like, you just didn't foul us for 30 seconds. Now you're calling timeouts, and you can't win. And it was one of those deals. And I think San Francisco's coach realized, I'm going to cover the point spread, right? Yes. So he sort of clued in at the end. He was like, all right, listen, I'm not going to foul this last time here because we're on the number. But the kid on St. Mary's got up there with the 6-point lead. He bricked the first one. Boom. Hits the second one. San Francisco hits a bucket, then they foul again. So it's 5, and I laid 6.5 in game. So I was like, all right, kid, all you got to do is hit these 2 free throws, and I'm going to win the bet. And I hit my over. I hit the in game. I was about to sweep the board in the game. I was like, kid, you just got to go. You got to hit both of them. Of course, he bricked the first one again. He hit the second one again. He missed the first one. And watching some of these kids in college getting up to the line, I knew he was going to miss. I was just like, oh, God. I'm looking at his line, the way he was shooting, the way he was, like, just getting ready. I'm like, oh, God, he's going to throw a brick. And just a massive brick. Clank, clank. These free throws, man, will kill you in college. But now that the March Madness tournament, now that the tournament's coming up around the corner, I've been watching a lot, whatever, but everyone's watching more college basketball now that the NFL is done and everything, and NBA hasn't been on. But I'm starting to isolate teams that basically, in my opinion, can't win. They're just not good enough. And there's quite a few of them, actually. And there's really only a handful of teams, I think, that could win the college basketball championship this year. UConn is one of them. UConn is the real deal. Yeah, they got smoked last night by Creighton, but UConn are a type of team that could win on a neutral court. They could win a low-scoring game. They could win a high-scoring game. That's the dangerous thing about UConn, that they can play multiple styles, which a lot of college basketball teams sort of have their thing, but they don't. If you can stop it, then they're kind of like Virginia's got a great defense. They don't score enough, right? Purdue always lose and choke. Like every team sort of has like this sort of weakness about them. UConn really doesn't. So I understand why UConn are at the top of the board. Purdue, I want to buy into Purdue. I did earlier in the year, and they've done nothing to dispel it. But at the same point in time, the Big Ten's not very good. All right, This isn't football. Like the Big Ten basketball conference is mediocre now. So whatever. You're the best team in the Big Ten. Good for you. You've got a big man. The history of Purdue, of them losing like all the time, man. The last 8 NCAA tournaments, man, they've only gotten past the Sweet 16 once. Matt Painter's had some really good teams. I often think that the stereotype of coaches, oh, this guy can't coach or this guy is a loser or whatnot, is just media type of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, Matt Painter, they just haven't gotten it done. They find a way to lose all the time, to lower seeds all the time, this team. The only thing you can sort of hang your hat on with Purdue is, can they follow in the same footsteps that Virginia did? Virginia lost to the 16 seed and won the national championship the next year. Purdue got bounced last year by, the 15 seed? 16, whatever the hell it was. Can they come back? And, it was the 15 seed last time. Can they come back and win? So Purdue, I don't really fully buy in. The Big Ten hasn't won in forever. And then I get to Houston. We'll bring Paul Bovey in a second here. But then I get to Houston. Houston I buy into. And then the only other team here, you go through everybody. I'm looking at Duke, guys, at 20. We talked about it with Big Man last night. The Duke Blue Devils at 25-1 are a dangerous team. They have a good point guard. They have a point guard that's got experience. Flipkowski is a stud. They're well coached. They've got blue chip talent. And they're never too high or never too low, this Duke team this year, right? They're kind of just sort of cruising along and coming into the tournament. They have as much talent as anybody in the country. I think Houston are better. I think UConn are better than Duke. But at 25-1, guys, I think the Duke Blue Devils are a play. Let's bring in Paul Bovey right now. Although Paul's a pro. He doesn't have time for this college stuff.
Yeah.
What's going on, Paul?
Oh, no. I've been dabbling in college. I've been doing all right with it. I have a little teaser thing that I've been playing with, and it's actually been working out pretty good. I'm not going to reveal my secret here, my secret sauce, but we've been doing all right.
People are anti-college teasers. You're the big sharp wise guy too, but you have a teaser thing going, eh?
Interesting.
It only if it falls in a certain range at a certain price. You have to get 6.5 points, and you have to lay no more than $1.40, and it does work in a certain range. So I'm actually 3-1 with this. I lost yesterday with Fordham, unfortunately, and they lost by 15. But it has been working. I've taken around with it, but I'm still an NBA guy, and I got some great material for tomorrow night. I think we're going to win a few games. Last week, Utah disappointed us. We came storming back from a huge deficit, took a lead only to lose by 3, and we were getting 2.5. And it played out exactly as I thought, because Golden State off the back-to-back, an older team, and then we have the Utah Jazz with those young legs. They came back against that older team and unfortunately just fell short. But we had a winner the week prior with Orlando in a straight-up upset over Minnesota, and I have a few games tomorrow night that I think are going to work.
I was on Utah, too. We have to give credit to Golden State. They went into the All-Star break strong, right? There was a lot of controversy, between Draymond and Kuminga's not playing and this and that, and Klay Thompson not starting, and there was a lot of drama, but they've been winning basketball games. They're playing themselves back into it right now, the Golden State Warriors. So how do you think, Paul, the league is going to play coming off this prolonged break? Coming out of the All-Star break. Always tricky coming out of an All-Star break. How are teams going to respond? Is it going to be free-flowing? I don't think they're going to start playing defense mode yet. We're still too far off, right, from real games. How do you think it plays out?
Well, I think there's a lot of pent-up energy there, no doubt. You look at tomorrow night, for example, OKC, LA Clippers. There's no advantage there for the younger team in OKC because the Clippers are well-rested. And I think it's a great spot for Golden State tomorrow night. Again, we cite the fact that they are an older team, 3 starters, 30-plus, heading to their mid-30s.
They're laying 6 right now. I just want to note, because it should be noted, LeBron's not playing, right? It's been announced that LeBron is not going to play in this game tomorrow. So that's why it's 6 right now.
I'm kind of upset.
Because you wanted to lay it at 2.5, 3 instead of like the 6, right, with LeBron. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think they got jobbed in that last game. They were on their 3rd game in 4 nights. The Lakers shot 43 free throws to 16 for Golden State in that double overtime 1-point win. And I just think they were set up right here to get revenge on the Lakers. And I still think they'll get it, but I'm not anxious to lay 5.5 points. But I do think they're going to win handily. By the way, in that last game, Draymond Green was a plus 31 in 46 minutes. So when he was off the court for those additional 12 minutes, I wonder what happened. Who was guarding who? Because that's almost impossible to do.
It's a good point that you brought up as far as the Clippers and the Thunder. This is sort of young versus old, as you talked about. The Clippers are well rested. But with that being said, are you buying into the Clippers in the big picture, Paul, or is it buyer beware? Is there an injury waiting to happen? Can Harden get it done in the postseason? Harden's had great regular seasons in the past. No one can dispute Harden's fit in perfectly with this team. They've got a good chemistry, right? It took a couple of years, but they do have a good chemistry with Westbrook and Harden and George and Kawhi. They do get along. They like their coach. Everything's sort of clicking for them right now, but are they peaking too soon, and can they stay healthy? Because if they do, they can compete with anybody in the NBA, this lineup.
I think they have to manage those minutes because miraculously, these three guys have missed only 3, 4, and 5 games, the big three. Westbrook has played all 52 or 53, however many they have played. So they've been a durable team. But again, they are an older team as well. And they go against a team like OKC, who all their starters are 25 and below. And by the way, that trade better pay dividends
George
to the Clippers this year. Yeah, of course. I mean, if it doesn't pay dividends this year,
picks.
Yeah, if it doesn't pay dividends this year, we know who the big winner is and who the big loser is, and the Clippers can salvage something out of this. And I'm a Clipper fan.
They need to win a title to make it work. You're right. They need to win a title. They do. Yeah.
They do. And I think they have a good shot to do it here, but they have to manage the minutes. And as you say, you're waiting for the shoe to drop, and the shoe is the injury, and hopefully it will not happen.
At least they're kind of deep enough that if Paul George goes, like Kawhi's the key, right? Mm-hmm. So a healthy Kawhi in the playoffs. Does he have one last run in him? They have a new arena coming up in 2 years that they're opening up. The All-Star Game's going to be there. So looking at the slate here, there's a couple of interesting games. Brooklyn and Toronto's not one of them, just for the record. So that's not one of the interesting
How about
ones.
Brooklyn? Yes.
I actually think the Raptors are the play coming out of a break.
Are they really?
They've had like 2 weeks. Yes.
Dude, that's a
they had one guy at the All-Star game, Scotty Barnes. Yeah, like the entire goddamn team should be ready to play.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hey, by the way, guys, by the way, I just have to get this in. I want to extend an invitation to you guys to the Vedanta Open, to the Mexico Golf Tournament, which is exactly like I'm going to say 10 kilometers from my house. So I want to have you guys.
Yeah,
over.
we were talking about you earlier. Yeah. I heard you're going to the tournament with Frankie B.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
SportsRage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
What do we do with the Nets, though? Because this team is hot garbage. I mean, poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
I mean, the reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. Smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage late
sort
night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency, kicking it with Paul Bovey and Cam Stewart. So, yeah, the Brooklyn Nets are in Toronto. Let me just blast through the games here. Nets in Toronto tomorrow. It's Raptors are -2, 231.5. Pistons and Pacers. Ooh. Pacers going to be an interesting team to keep our eye on in the second half or whatever in the last run here. Yeah, Halliburton and Siakam, they haven't really had their full lineup together so much yet, Paul. So they're going to be a fun team. I don't think they're Eastern Conference contenders. I think they're win a playoff series type of team. But they're laying 11.5 to the Pistons. Your Knicks +1 against the Sixers. What's your take on that one, Paul? No Randall, no OG.
These teams are quite different. No Embiid, no Anunoby, no Randall, who, by the way, those guys combined 4 of 22 in that game, but they were a +33 because they play defense. Now, I think the Knicks have been giving up a lot of points of late. I think 125, 121, 113 twice. They had a
without
105.
OG's defense. Yeah, man, they're not the same suddenly.
They're not the same. And I just think you're going to see an up-tempo game here because you got the sharpshooters back, Dante's back, Bojan's back for the Knicks. Those guys were, dinged up. And then Hartenstein back in the lineup. He did practice yesterday. So I don't have any doubt that this is going to be I'm not going to call it a track meet, but I actually played it at 225, and I think you'll see some points here. So that's the direction I'd go with this game.
We'll hit this on the other side, but one team, guys, that were smoking hot going into the All-Star break, we'll see if they can keep it going, were the Cleveland Cavaliers, which people don't want to ever give credit to, right? The Knicks win, you know what I mean? The Knicks go 9-1 in 10 games, and they're booking the parade. The Cavs go 17-1. Well, they'll choke in the playoffs. So there's different, perceptions around teams, but the Cavs are balling. But it's hard to buy into them in the playoffs. It is.